There is no doubt that marijuana on the market has become a legitimate billion-dollar business. Currently, 19 states and Washington, D.C. have legalized the recreational use of it. And with only 5 days until Election Day, legalizing the drug is on the ballot in 5 other states, including Arkansas and Maryland. And that brings us back to the famous quote from Hamlet. Well, at least part of the quote. To legalize or not to legalize? That is the question. And for answers, joining me, Kevin Sabet, CEO and founder of SAM, Smart Approaches to Marijuana, a nonprofit concerned about the harms of legalizing the drug, and also Arthur Ago, the director of the Criminal Justice Project for the Lawyers Committee. Gentlemen, great to have you both. Kevin, let's start with you. Smart Approaches to Marijuana has been around for 10 years, right? A decade now. Should marijuana be legalized across the U.S.?
Well, not if we look at what today's marijuana is like. It's the 99% potent. It's gummy bears, candies, ice creams. It's things that are targeted towards kids. We've seen a huge increase in mental illness, especially psychosis, schizophrenia. We've seen car crash increase. Walk down the streets of Manhattan. I don't need to tell you what it smells like. I mean, in places where this is legal, quality of life is going down and kids are being hurt at the expense, really of our future. And it's because there's like you said, multi-billion-dollar industry that's really funded by big tobacco. It's invested by folks that really don't care about our kids. They care about money. And that's why these things are passing. It's all about money. And it's about the fact that you have a small number of rich guys that frankly look like me that are pretending to promote social justice when in reality they're just promoting, fattening their pocketbook.
Arthur, your thoughts?
Thank you for having me on, Kira. I disagree with Kevin on a certain level, which is that we believe that marijuana should be legalized. It should be decriminalized. I think what Kevin's talking about is regulation of the product itself. But in terms of using the criminal justice system to address the issues that Kevin has raised, that's just the wrong forum to use. The effects of marijuana criminalization has been devastating for communities of color, and in particular, Black communities in this country. Black people are 3 3/4 times more likely to be arrested for marijuana offenses in the places where it remains illegal. And even in the places where it is legalized, Black people are 2 times more likely to be arrested. So what we're talking about here is using the wrong system, the criminal justice system, to address some of the issues that Kevin raises. And the first way to fix those issues is to legalize marijuana.
Go ahead,
look,
Kevin.
I agree with Arthur. Yeah, look, I don't want to lock up people in prison for marijuana. Let me be very clear. We agree on that. I don't want to criminalize people, but it's a false dichotomy, a false choice to say that you either have to criminalize and lock people up or you have to legalize and commercialize and really, put our kids' brains at risk and our roadways and quality of life. So I agree with Arthur. I don't want to criminalize people, but the reality is in these states that have legalized, it's all about the money. In fact, poor people and minorities are being targeted. There are far more pot shops, which are, by the way, connected to crime, lower real estate prices, et cetera. Far more of them in communities of color, next to the liquor stores, next to the payday loan, predatory loan stores, lottery, than there are in upper class communities where the power is, where they vote for legalization, but just not in their own backyard. So the reality is the way this is playing out in America is just like the way that, frankly, big tobacco played out, big pharma, where it's all about profits, all about money, not about people that are suffering. So I don't think we should criminalize people, Arthur. We're together on that. But the reality is legalization is not the answer. We can remove criminal penalties, but also not promote and commercialize, these products that are really completely different than the Woodstock days, than my college days. They're just completely different products, and they're not being regulated by any of these legal states at all.
So, Arthur, how you said regulation is what you believe in. How do you see that?
Well, one of the main thrusts of equitable and fair regulation is to put the means of distribution and as to the extent possible, the means of production into the very communities that were harmed by the war on drugs, starting in the 1970s, and essentially the attacks on communities of color with regards to marijuana. It is placing those means into the hands of those communities, listening to those communities, bringing them to the table so that they can discuss some of the things. I mean, I 100% agree with Kevin. Communities of color should never be exploited on things like the production and distribution of marijuana. And so they should be at the table to discuss those policies, the types of regulations, the types of products that are coming out and being distributed once legalization occurs. So, we're not far apart on this. And the problem is that those voices are not being heard. That does go hand in hand with legalization.
Kevin, your stance on... Go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
No. You had a thought. Go ahead.
I was just saying, look, that's great in theory, but the reality is, why are we only talking about investing in poorer communities and communities of color when it has to do with promoting a mind-altering substance? I mean, I hope we can invest in those communities with a lot of other productive things. Where's the education discussion? Where's the healthcare discussion? Where's the housing discussion? Where's all this other all these other issues that we need to equalize? And the fact that we're only wanting to talk about it when it comes to marijuana, give a couple of black guys some licenses and then we're done with our work. It's really, really a tragedy. I think it is pushing back actually the movement for civil rights. It is also keeping back the movement for actually reducing our incarceration rates. I agree. We have too many people behind prison. It's not because of marijuana, by the way, but we need to talk about why that is, why there are too many people behind, in prison, and how to reduce that and how to increase education and opportunity. We don't need to do that in the context of a mind-altering substance that, let me tell you, no black family in this country is saying, if only my kids smoked more marijuana, they would have a better time to get ahead in life. No family, period, is saying that. So why are we normalizing this? I think we need to go slower, realize what we're doing, and kind of press pause on this failed experiment of legalization.
Go ahead, Arthur. Final thought.
Well, here are my final thoughts is these things are not mutually exclusive. They all go hand in hand. Yes, invest in communities in terms of education. Yes, invest in communities in terms of housing and jobs and things like eliminating food deserts in communities of color on the other side of the tracks. And so that's not separate and apart from decriminalizing marijuana. The thing about decriminalizing marijuana, though, is what it does is it prevents involvement in the criminal justice system. And that
but
is
decriminalizing isn't legalizing. Let's remember, decriminalization and legalization, not the same thing. They're very different. Legalization in our country is commercialization. That's what's being voted on, and I'm hoping voters will reject that.
All right, we got to go. Arthur, 5 seconds, Arthur.
Well, yes. I mean, you have to regulate the industry, right? It can't be a free-for-all. So, yes, agreed.
I'll tell you what, we will continue the discussion. I didn't even have to go through all my questions. Arthur, I'll go. Kevin, Sabet, both. Thank you both so much. Really, it's a great discussion. It has been for decades. Thanks. I appreciate you both. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.